quick topic on my own here for you. We'll go over spawn points on capture the flag and dom, and I'm gonna be using raid as an example. So I've broken one side has just the map, no spawns on it, and the other one does. Spawn or raid is seals versus ISA. I think I did get it backwards where seals spawns kitchen first, but I can't quite remember. I think I'm like confident they spawn garage, but I could be wrong. But the spawn points are there. I don't think I'm missing any. All the primaries and secondaries are there. And I'm gonna demonstrate which spawns will be inactive depending on where players are and what points not to pass to flip spawns. Now, on capture the flag, the enemy teams would be spawning diagonal to each other. So if we're spawning basketball, right? No one's going to be the other team should in theory, if no one's congesting it, they should be spawning in like near weight room. Now, if I'm basketball and I'm pushing basketball and I go through middle and I come out like to around here, I'm going to flip the spawns. Like if anyone's here and no one's on this side of the map, the spawns will flip. Capture the flag spawns are easy to flip. In domination, they're kind of harder because domination depends on what flag you have. Because if you have A and B, your other team's only going to be spawning here. So spawn trapping in domination is super easy because it's all about forcing the other team to only use a certain amount of spawns. So if you put like one guy AFK in the window, one guy in the garage, and like one guy on the stairs, you will force, and you have C, and your other team, like your team has A. You don't need anyone over here because you own this flag, and it's your primary spawn. Your primaries, these are these boxes. These are the initial spawns on the map. These are your primaries. But if you spawn A and you put 3 guys in the right positions, you can use 3 other guys to not to get too close, but the other team will spawn here and here. And you can do the same thing on capture, you can do the same thing on capture the flag. Raid is a pretty big map with I guess it's a medium-sized map, but it's a pretty difficult map to spawn trap. It's not like hijacked. You can force players to use 4 spawns, and I've seen it done. You can do it in a duo where you just flip back and forth, but it is pretty bad if you know what you're doing. You can make the other team spawn in front of you, and then you just mow them down. As long as you don't have like direct line of sight for a period of time. So if you're in the building watching the one by the table, you need to be in the staircase shooting through the wall. Otherwise you'll flip it, or you just won't get a spawn, and all your teammates will. Let's go over long, short, what long means and what short is. If you look at the distance traveled for a carrier, right? So from this flag to this flag, the ideal route would be to go through here and just cut through mid, and then come you either go around or go through. And then the ideal route would be to go through here and then go to flag. So what short and long means is the distance traveled. Every map, no map is 100% identical besides like the symmetrical maps like Hijacked and Plaza. Or no, not Plaza. Yeah, Hijacked is a pretty good example. Nuketown's a pretty good example. They're smaller maps, so there isn't really a short and long. Those smaller maps are just about like map domination, forcing your teammates into a choke point. And as long as you have mid, you can get your flag caps, your carriers can go past mid. And once they're past mid, as long as you have control of the map, it is free. as you can see, statue is shorter than poolside. But you're also taking into factor of all the cutoffs. Because if you go this side, you have window, doorway. That's fucking wrong. There's there's a ledge here, so the doorway would be like right here, because the ledge is here. So window, doorway, middle. You have laundry, but I guess that isn't really a cutoff. And then here you only have pool steps, money room, which is a very hard peak to hit from carrier. If you're a carrier going past and somebody's a money room has advantage. I would not want to choose to pick that fight. So if I knew somebody was in money room, I'm gonna break line of sight by going up on the ledge here. It's just a smarter move because you don't want to fight money room. You have wheelbarrow. I mean, I guess it really isn't a cutoff, but you also have the window, the ledge, and then the outside of the pillar. So there's like two here, one's above. So long would be the longer route traveled, and short would be the shorter route traveled. So if your team is running short, let's get this out of here. If your team is running short, your primary spawns are gonna be these four here. These are gonna be your primaries, and these are gonna be inactive. These three, like these two in the building, are only used if the basketball and these ones are congested. You're not gonna spawn here on your flag like ever. I mean, you can see it happens, but it's rare. It's just not really a do or die. Let's just leave it at it being rare. But there's two in the building that are rarely used, only if your left and right or primaries are congested. But if your team is running short, you should spawn here. And if for every reason you spawn middle, someone's on your flag. It's a dead giveaway because there's two far spawns on every map. And if you spawn there, 9 times out of 10, someone's close to your flag. So just spawn in and yell flag now, or spawn in and yell flag now, or just check it. So if you're running short, the other team's gonna be spawning here. This is the #1 spawn right here. It's you're gonna spawn here or you're gonna spawn here. I rarely see you. You're rarely gonna spawn here in garage. These are like your building spawns. And then you have the one on top of pool steps and the one on pool side within direct line of sight of fucking wheelbarrow. But that's your, like, if you spawn there, someone's on your flag. So if I pick up, when I go to pick up, my teams, or they're gonna spawn here. But if I stay here with flag in hand, the spawns, like they're either gonna spawn here or it's gonna flip on you. There's a very high chance, and like I said earlier, like capture the flag spawns are super easy to flip, and you really want to be careful and be quick with what you're doing. So if you're gonna hang around blue car, you're not gonna flip the spawns because they'll still spawn here and they'll still spawn in the stairs, but you're not gonna flip it yet because you take 4 primaries from them. You're taking this one by the flag, this one underneath the balcony, the one in garage, and the one by like white van. So you can hang around blue flag, get three kills, or just look at your kill feed and wait for 4 to die, or count if you're kill counting when you're about to pick up. If you have like a good count, you should get a clean pickup. But be wary, like if you go to pick up flag, this spawn's still hot, so you could pick up and somebody could hit there or spawn there and then shoot you in the back. So what you should do, if you're sitting by blue car, the ideal route would be to pick up and go upstairs and then come out this building. Because if you go upstairs, you're checking this spawn here, and then you shouldn't have anyone. It should be clear. Now, if I'm running back short, right, my teammates should be watching long, which would mean in wheelbarrow. Because if I pick up and I run short, if carrier's over here, that other team is gonna spawn diagonal. So if they were spawning here and I picked up and I ran this direction, the spawns will flip unless it's congested. But their team's gonna be spawning poolside. So if you actually break it down and you think Well, if they're spawning poolside, they're going to run poolside to come after a carrier because they think everybody else is not watching, or they think their teammates are doing what they should be, but 9 times out of 10, they're not. So they're spawning poolside and you're running statue. Your team should be watching long. If you're coming back short and your team's watching short from flag, you a shitty team. Straight up. Now if I'm watching short, or if I'm watching long for my carrier to come in, so you have 2 choke points and 2 cutoffs. You have long and then you have building. For a clean grab, you need a minimum of like 3 people, or like a clean cap with good defense. So you normally should have like 2 just hovering, or 1 guy hovering around base and like 1 guy just defending. The ideal situation. So the reason why it's 2 is because on every map you have middle and you have left and you have right. And like if you're playing capture the flag, you have middle, short, and long. So you'd have the carrier come in one direction, and there's rarely anyone in front of carrier, and if they are, they got there from a cutoff, or they were like already halfway when I picked up. So say if I was middle and our flag gets picked up and he runs basketball, I'm gonna beat him to cutoff. So that flag's fucked. The reason why it's minimum of 2 people is you got 1 guy watching long, the opposite direction of which the flag is coming, and then you have 1 guy watching short, or 1 guy watching the middle path, and it should be a clean guy, or it should be a clean cap, and if somebody dies, somebody else will take over. What else should I go over? I guess I could mark which ones are your primaries. I'll put, with like brown, I'll make the rare ones brown. And then I'll just send this picture to you. That's not really rare, but I'll mark it. There isn't a whole lot of spawns here in poolside. And then with like dark blue. Oh shit. Maybe I shouldn't use blue. I'll use like pink. Your primaries and your secondaries. That's pretty much all I have to cover for spawns. Each map has a certain amount of set spawn points, and there isn't a whole lot. Normally there's around 10 or 12. In this case, there's like not a whole lot. Like 5 on each side, on both sides. So there's not a whole lot. And your initial spawns, which is this box and this box, you spawn there initially, but you'll never spawn there again. You're never gonna spawn in an initial. You get put in an initial off the start of the game. Now, if you look at which side gets to there first on raid, ISA would have advantage because ISA will get to here first. So my ideal push for early game would be to come through and get to this line of sight right here and just start blasting the wall. And then after I get some kills, I'll come out money room, and now I'm watching this spot right here. And then if somebody's in the window, somebody comes out of the window, I won't be looking at window, because if you're aimed at say you have a spot, or for instance, you have, in this case, you have a window above a balcony, or a window above like an area that you can go under with a head peak. You want to watch the harder peak to hit. The harder peak to hit would be the one under. And you also want to aim lower rather than aiming higher because of the dead zone that the gun on your screen creates when you're ADS. So if you're aimed high and somebody peeks you low, you're not going to see him. So you want to aim low. So if somebody comes high, you see him, which is something you should always be careful for. So when I come out bank or come out money room off my initial, I'm going to be watching the ledge here because it's lower than the window, so I'll be able to see people come through window, and nobody really goes through window. I'll start, they'll go through, they'll go under them, and I normally get 3-4 kills off the initial. Raid's super good for this map. And then for seals, I'll go white van and I'll watch through the window of the white van into this spot here. Just because I don't want to challenge middle, because if you're playing with anyone good or anyone who's using a lightweight class, lightweight extreme conditioning, they're gonna beat you there. They're gonna be there waiting for you. They don't even need to be running lightweight or extreme conditioning to beat you to middle. And then poolside is a death trap unless you get there first. You get to this spot before this team gets to wheelbarrow or this way. But you want to watch out because if you're here, you're not going to be able to see people coming out of basketball. So they can go this way, they could go that way, they can go in. That's something. This is why I don't go this way. But if you're coming through here, you've got this spot here. You're going to be able to see people run by. And the only really downside is that you can't really see anyone running this way because of the van. As soon as they drop, they're just going to come out, and that's a hard peak to hit. But it's once you get a knack for it on this or garage side, it's easier to go statue than it would be to challenge anywhere else on the map. But if you're ISA, you can 2 birds with 1 stone, and it works every time to go through middle, go through money room, and check water. And then depending on how many kills you get, that in theory tells you how many people either held back or went statue. So you can tell right off the bat, you have instant information on where enemies will be spawning and what the spawns will do shortly after. Depending on how many players went to each side and how far they went, depends on which team gets the primary first and which team gets the secondary. So which team will get their primary spawn over their secondary spawn, if that makes any sense. There's a lot on the screen, but if you need to rewatch the video again to understand it, it's cool. Watch it a couple times and you should get it down.